Welcome to the Dr. Wyatt Show podcast, where developing a long-lasting, happy relationship is the status symbol to achieve, and following my 6 marriage steps is a path to help get you there. I'm your host, Dr. Wyatt Fisher, a licensed psychologist specializing in marriage counseling. Remember, you can contact me on the Dr. Wyatt Show Monday through Thursday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time with your marriage questions. You can reach me at 720-307-7347. If you don't reach me, leave a voicemail, and I'll respond back to your message on the next Dr. Wyatt Show podcast. Well, we're wrapping up a series on how to make it through the holidays without killing your partner. Today is part 4. Part 1, we talked about finances. Part 2, we talked about workload. Number 3, we talked about expectations. In part 4, we're going to talk about how to stay connected. It's very hard to stay connected with our partner through the holidays because the holidays take so much out of us. We have to increase our output because we're cooking special meals. We're buying all these presents and wrapping them. We're decorating. We're traveling. We're interacting with difficult family members. All these things create stress and strain. And so for a lot of us, we lose sight of our partner. We lose the connection. We feel more distant with them after the holidays. You don't want that. Make this holiday season different, but it requires intentionality. How can we make it through the holidays so that at the end of the holiday, we actually feel more bonded? We feel closer. We feel like we move through the holidays as a team. I feel more connected. That's what you want to feel at the end of the holidays. And that's not going to happen by accident. Like all things in marriage, you have to have intentionality. How focused are you as a partner? Wake up and pay attention. This is the time where you want to really focus, because through the holidays, there's so many things that are going to push you away from your partner. So if you're not intentionally focusing on how can we stay close and connected, you're going to drift apart because there's so much that happens through the holidays. So the first thing to consider to stay connected with your partner through the holidays is discuss how each of you would like to stay connected. When I say the word or the phrase stay connected, what does that mean to you? What comes to your mind when I say stay connected? Probably different things. For some of you, maybe that means I want more compliments through the holidays. That would feel good. Maybe some of you, that means I just want to feel like we're sharing the workload. That would feel good. That helped me feel close. Others of you, maybe it's I want to make sure we're talking and connecting. Others of you may say, I want to make sure we're having physical closeness. It's different per person what they need to feel connected, to stay connected. So the first part here is you have to talk with your partner and ask them, what would it look like for us to stay connected during the holidays? How would you define staying connected? Listen to what they have to say, because everyone is wired different. And one of the traps we can do is assume that the way I want to stay connected is the way you want to stay connected. That's wrong. Most likely, the way you want to stay connected is different than how your partner wants to stay connected, because you're different people. You're wired different. And that's okay. What's important is to understand it and to understand the difference and to talk about it so you can become mindful and cognizant and aware of how you want to stay connected while you're also being thoughtful of how your partner wants to stay connected. If you just roll right through the holidays assuming my partner wants to stay connected in the same way I do, if you're assuming that, you're going to be in for some trouble, because most likely you're wrong. Most likely that's not how your partner is defining staying connected. Most likely they have different needs than you. So you have to find out what that is, and that starts with asking those questions. How would you like to stay connected through the holidays? You need to ask that. Number 2, carve out pockets to stay close emotionally. So it's very difficult to carve out pockets during the holidays because you're going to have family visiting, or maybe you're visiting family, maybe all your kids are home. There's a lot of chaos. And so how could you be creative with your partner to still have some pockets of time to talk, to vent, to express what you're feeling? oh, my dad, he drives me crazy. Or, oh, my sister. Or, oh my gosh, my mom, I can't believe she said that. You need this time to vent, to connect, to process together. This is the head heart checks. The head heart checks are, what did you do throughout the day? And more importantly, what did you feel throughout the day? Were you mad, sad, glad, fearful, and why? That's the heart. You need to check in with yourself. What was I feeling today? What was stirring up for me? And then when you have that pocket to connect with your partner, you're ready to share because you've already spent some time getting in touch with yourself and consolidating what was happening for you. So then when you have that pocket of time to talk and to share, you're ready. You can ask your partner what's been on your head and heart. And then when they ask you, you're ready to share because you've taken that inventory. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. It doesn't have to be complex. Just what were you feeling and why? A lot of us don't know. Sometimes I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't operate in my feelings. I operate in my cognitive side of my brain most of the time. That's how I'm wired. My wife is the opposite. She operates through her feelings. And that's how she functions. And so for her, it's very easy for her to talk about what she's been feeling. For me, it's not so easy because that's not how I'm wired. I have to take some moments to really think about what was I feeling today? Was I mad? Was I sad? Was I glad? Was I fearful? And why? So I have to take some time to prep because that's not how I normally process. I process cognitively, not emotionally. My wife is the opposite. And that's okay. There's always going to be those differences in relationships. But I know that for us to stay connected emotionally, which is primarily my wife's need, I need to take some steps and make some time for me to get in touch with myself with what have I been feeling and why. Because when I share that, it helps my wife feel closer with me. And it's also cathartic for me because it is healthy to get in touch with our feelings and our emotions and to talk about them so they're not just stuffed way down, mulling around in the mud. It's good to get in touch with that and articulate it. That's how you cultivate best friendship in your relationship. So the question is, how can you and your partner carve out some quality time to catch up? One example could be, let's wake up early before all of our guests get up and take a walk. Or maybe every other night or here and there, we go to bed early, say we're tired, go in our room, shut the door, and have some extra time to talk before we go to bed. Whatever it is for you, but be creative. Maybe it's you say, hey, we're going to go run an errand together, and you do it together. And part of the reason you do the errand is so that you can talk in the car drive, so you can connect, reconnect. So that's one question to ask yourself. How can we stay connected emotionally through the holidays? Number 3, carve out times to connect physically. How can you stay connected physically through the holidays? Because that's another important component. That's a higher need for me in our relationship than my wife. And so we have to talk about how can we stay connected physically. And when I say physically, what I'm referring to is make time for cuddling. That's important. And make time for sensual time. So maybe that could be having a shower together, having a bath together, having an abbreviated sensual massage together. And this would probably have to happen either early in the morning or at night. Maybe you go to bed early one night or 2 nights or every other night. Try to integrate some intentional pockets to stay connected physically. And at the end of your sensual time together, whether it's a cuddle or it's a shower or it's a bath or it's a sensual massage, at the end of that time, as I mentioned elsewhere, that's when things may or may not turn erotic. It only will turn erotic when both partners are open to getting aroused or they're already aroused. And when that happens, there's options. It can be everything above the waist some nights. It can be everything below the waist manual some nights. It can be everything below the waist oral some nights. It can be laying next to each other while you pleasure yourselves some nights. Other nights it can be everything, including intercourse. This defers to the lower libido partner so that they bring back voice and choice to the erotic contact. because we do not want anything with obligation. We want them to be fully present. That's beneficial for them, and it's beneficial for the higher libido partner, because then they're experiencing their partner sexually more frequent on some level, and their partner wants to be there. The partner wants to be engaging because they're in control of what you're doing and how much you're doing. So that's the third thing to consider, is how can we carve out pockets for sensual time, for cuddling, or a quick shower together, or a quick bath together. That's not going to happen by accident, especially during the holidays. So be intentional. How can you carve out that time to stay close physically? The fourth thing to consider is how can we stay connected with everyone present? How can we do this? How can we stay connected when we're in a room full of people? Our kids are there. Our parents are there. Our niece and nephew are there. Our uncles are there. How do we stay connected as a couple in that environment? And that could be a few things. That could be, well, let's make sure we sit together. Doesn't mean we have to stay together the whole time because we want to socialize with different people, but let's be mindful during that family time together where we also stay connected as a couple. So maybe that means we sit next to each other on the couch for a little bit and just have some affection. Maybe that means we sit down and we eat the meal together when it's time for the big meal. Maybe that means we go up to each other periodically and just check in. How are you doing? Maybe it means we just kind of walk up to each other here and there and just share something we're feeling. But you want to be mindful and intentional of staying connected during the family get-together. My wife and I are guilty of this one. We are guilty of, during these family these family get-togethers, of us moving as independent entities and not doing a very good job of staying connected as a couple. I'll be talking with so-and-so and chatting over here or snacking over there while my wife is doing the same thing somewhere else, and we do it too much where at the end of the day, we didn't feel connected. We lost our connection. So we've had to work on this ourselves of how do we stay connected as a couple even though we're with everybody. And again, it's a balance. It doesn't mean you're with each other the whole day, because then that's going to impede your connection with others. But it also doesn't mean that you never check in. You never reconnect. You never touch base or sit together or talk for a few minutes together. You want to have both. You want to have that balance so you're staying connected even during the holiday celebrations. So those are 4 ways to consider staying connected with your partner through the holidays. Number 1, discuss how you each would like to stay connected. Number 2, carve out pockets to connect emotionally. Number 3, carve out pockets to connect physically. And number 4, stay connected as a couple during the celebrations. The call to action for this series I've done this week is I have created a free PDF. The free PDF is on the 4 parts. If you go to my website, drwyattfisher.com/pages/freebies, you'll see the free PDF on this episode, on these 4 parts of this episode series. You'll see the bullets per part, and then you'll see some discussion questions for you and your partner to talk about these episodes so that you can apply it and integrate it. So be sure to access it. It's a free PDF. You can download it. Go to my website, drwyattfisher.com/pages/freebies. Thank you for listening to the Dr. Wyatt Show podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, pause right now, click the 5 stars, and leave a review. I really appreciate your reviews. It helps the podcast get seen by more people. Also, if you appreciate the podcast, the best way to say thank you to me or to pay it forward is to tell someone else about it. Maybe during the holidays, you're going to be around a lot of family and friends. Share it with somebody. Forward it to somebody. Text it to somebody. The more people hear about the podcast, the more couples can receive hope for their relationship. And remember, your marriage is alive. If you care for it and nurture it, it will grow. But if you deprive it and neglect it, it will wilt and die. The choice is up to you. Take care.